think you couldn't possibly be any dumber. You go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
Still want to go to Aspen?
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's.
Hey, Derek Sheridan from Rust Belt Basketball Coaches Network. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend. So one of my things that I really enjoy in life, I enjoy finding those diamonds in the rough. And what I mean by that is if I can't find anything to watch on TV, I'll go over to ESPN Plus and start looking through the entire repertoire of what they have on. So I really enjoy finding these teams that we don't get to hear or read a lot about in the Midwest. And so I click on the Eastern Washington versus North Dakota State game. And mainly because I was lucky enough, I got to play against North Dakota State in college. But anyway, I start to watch this game, and it doesn't take too long. I'm sold hook, line, and sinker watching Eastern Washington. These guys can flat play, and they play a brand of basketball, or I should say they execute a brand of basketball that I find very aesthetically pleasing. And I learned a lot during this game about a lot of different basketball tactics. But here's a little bit of background information regarding Eastern Washington. And again, because we don't get a lot of their games televised here in the Midwest. Eastern Washington is part of the Big Sky Conference. Their head coach is David Riley, who looks to be extremely young to me. But wherever Coach Riley, maybe who he played for, who he's worked with on his coaching journey, has taught him how to coach motion really, really well. I'll get into the players who really stood out to me once we get the tape rolling. So what stood out to me? Well, their execution, how they value each possession of the basketball, their screening and their cutting off the ball, their ball patience in their execution while executing on ball actions, their low post scoring, the way they establish position in the low post and pound the ball inside, I found refreshing. Wisconsin-esque, if you will, and they might even be better at this than Wisconsin. I'm not sure. And their toughness and the toughness and the grit of their players was it didn't take long to pick up on it. It's quite obvious that these guys have played a ton of basketball, and I know that sounds like I'm telling you an ice cube's cold, but I think it'll get my point will be driven home a little bit more effectively once we get tape rolling. They passed the PPE evaluative tool with extremely high marks, and the people who have played for me or my basketball coaching colleagues or my old staff know that I use the PPE evaluative tool, the first P being purposefulness, the second P being pace, and the E being exacting. And they being Eastern Washington got high marks in all of those. So let's get the tape rolling and talk about some of these clips that I found to be really, really good. So there's a ball screen in a roll, and I want you to start really focusing on number 0, who's a young man named Cedric. It's either Coward or Coward, and if his last name is Coward, if that's how it's pronounced anyway, that's a play on words because he is far from it. He's might be the toughest and most skilled basketball player, and I mean as far as having a multifaceted skill set that I've seen this basketball season. I should say that I've seen in a long time. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. He is fighting his tail off. He's being full-fronted now, and he's positioning himself for the next play before 31's even caught the ball. And one of the things that you will find is Cedric throws his lead foot out in front of the defensive player's lead foot almost every time, what we called Xing lead feet, or Don Meyer called winning the foot fight. But his positioning is is off the hook. Okay, he's continuing that fight there. Another thing he's fantastic at is showing this lead hand, or not his lead hand, I'm sorry, his target hand. The passer here isn't being defended. He must not be a very good shooter, but he's what we called vanilla or middle of the road, whatever, but he's sagging off. And that does make it harder to throw the thing inside. But there he goes again. Now on this leg whip, there he's going to get that top foot right there. And now he's sitting on that hip. And number 10 is executing one of my favorite actions in basketball. And this is, a lot of people call it elbow drive post feed. We just simply called it elbow low post. 10 drives the thing to the elbow as the person guarding him, 23, was not respecting him on the perimeter. Now, as that ball is being dribbled to the elbow, Cedric, number 0, roots his man at the hip level, and he's got 3 points of contact established now. Point number 1, here high. Point number 2, hips. And point number 3, here with his baseline side foot, he has him already X'd. So if you're a fortune teller, I think you're going to be right on money if you say, yeah, I bet he scores. Yeah, look at his ball patience. Look at the spacing he has. I love the weak side screen in. This weak side screen in, what we call a horizontal stretch, is money. That is great offense. Great offense. And now watch. Here we go. Just great ball patience. There's a Rick Fox cut, and he gets the fadeaway jumper. Now, this is the thing about Cedric, another thing that I love. He is so multi-dimensional. Now he's going to bring the ball up the floor. And they're going to get Eastern Washington's going to show a 5-out look. And you're going to see some really good old motion-esque. There it is. We called this curl to seal. And what that means is the person setting the screen here, Cedric, is going to set a pin down screen for his teammate, and we get a nice tight curl. Now, this is a classic piggybacking action, almost piggybacking, more lead arm, lead leg, but we're going to get a tight curl here, and there's that seal. My goodness, 13 has not even created the crossing 2 men in a row if you're a blocker mover guy, but look at that seal, and there's that foot fight right there. There's that top foot fight. He's going to get him X'd. And that's a tough angle. I mean, that is a heck of an angle. But his lower body, his second and third point of contact, enable him to catch this ball. Besides the fact that he's just flat out tough, and his fundamental skill is outstanding. So he slaps that ball, man, and his first look is middle. And I know this has been one of the longest debates in low post play basketball that I can remember anyway, is when you catch the ball, do you turn and look middle or do you turn and look baseline? And I've had some great debates and conversations with coaches over the years on this. My thing is look middle. You can see almost the entire floor, where when you look baseline, you're limiting what you can see. So he does a great job of looking middle. And he's going to square his man up. He's got the court spread for him. Now, watch these ball fakes. He is searching. I know one of my mentors, Coach Jim Irwin, called this seeking. He is seeking for a cutter. He ends up hitting another jumper. I cut the clip a little bit too short there. But, okay, so our next clip, we're going to get back into some pin down actions. There's a great pin down, and we called that a screen in, which is kind of a funky angle, but he does a good job of getting the wing open. Ball goes to the wing. Now look at the weak side post player, number 10. Now, we talk about winning the foot fight, or Xing feet is what we actually call it. I mentioned Don Myers earlier, and now I've got my brain filled of the 9 million Don Meyer films I watched and whatever, but he's got that top foot over. He has a perfect target hand established. For whatever reason, this young lad here is not sinking in to help. It's probably because this guy can shoot it, which we'll find out in a little bit. But look at this ball line. Look at that ball line. My gracious. And this is all set up with Cedric's screen in, which was outstanding. You can see he's crunching in his inside hip and inside shoulder. And there's the pass. Great ball patience, great up and under move. And there's an easy bucket for the Eagles of Eastern Washington. Now check this out. Again, this is the same clip. Now, if 55 is not defining the word guilefulness, I don't know what it means. I mean, God, look at that. That is the definition of it. He rips, steals, and so here's the first 3 possessions for Eastern Washington. 2 low post feeds, 55 pulls, a move that kids learn playing in the park against rigid competition. It took me back to 1986 and playing in Foster Park in Kokomo, Indiana, where if you lost, you might have to sit out for 45 minutes. But what a great guileful move. Now we're back in our 5 out. Here comes another curl to seal. There's Cedric again, and he gets fouled that time. And the reason 13 is on his can is because of his footwork and his second point of contact. He attacked number 13's hips. Okay. I mean, this guy is so fundamental, and he's just I would go so far to say, and I've seen a lot of basketball this year, if he's not the most versatile, he's in the top 5 versatile players I've seen all year. Comes off that ball screen. I love the timing and the patience he took reading how to come off this ball screen. There's the kick. And now he's going to establish himself. He's being full fronted here. Ball goes to the wing. And okay, we get a great, what we call a pocket cut here in for a step-in jump shot. He never stopped. He never stops looking at the ball because he knows there's a heck of a good chance 32 might rocket that ball down to his inside or his right hand and lead him out. And so when I say, again, these guys have played a ton of basketball. I know they're Division I athletes. I get that. But I don't see a lot of guys, even big timers, not that these guys aren't big timers, but that do these little things. This guy's played out at a park somewhere where, again, if you got beat, you might have to sit out for an hour. There's that many people in line to play behind you. We knocked down the jump shot. And again, I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but the guy, I think, Cedric Coward, or Coward, however you say his name, is a man amongst boys. Back into a 5-out alignment. They're really ping-ponging the ball around now. And there's a nice mash screen where we're going to get a player down here who's just going to occupy a low post player and sort of act disinterested. And here comes the cutter off of that mash. I know some people call it a pile driving screen. We just call it a mash screen. Here we go. Now, I like this action too, and this is Bo Ryan-esque. That pass that Cedric makes to the weak side pro spot or weak side high elbow extended, because of the denial here and the screening action. This guy had to help on forced screen, which opened up the pass from the wing to the weak side pro spot. We call them pro spots. Most people call them high elbow extended. But that's good stuff. When Bo Ryan was at Wisconsin, they were famous for that. Okay, there's a dribble loop and a score. Now, the thing with this is what 55 read when he caught it, and he looks down. If you're a blocker mover person, your sequence every time you catch the ball, if you don't have a straight line drive, is down, opposite, same. He's looking down right now. There's kind of a pseudo ball screen, but this whole thing is set up by 32 running his man up the lane line, up. He's playing him top hip defense. So whenever you're being played top hip in the low post, you run him up the lane line. That opens up a possible lob. It opens up the baseline drift, or whatever they call it now, and it opens up this driving action. And again, I know I say it. These guys have played a lot of basketball. It's me telling you it's cold outside if you live in Bowling Green, Ohio. It's like -16, whatever. But again, this guy and this guy have played a lot of basketball together, 55 and 32. And that's all set up by 32 driving his man up the lane line, and 32 having a great basis of understanding on how to play on the low block, no matter it's from his coach here at Eastern Washington, Coach Riley, his high school coach, whoever, of running his defensive player, ramming him up the lane line when you're being played top hip, low post defense. Another pseudo ball screen. And again, I love the patience and how they take that slower dribble behind the screen. And I'm not a ball screen aficionado, but I am learning. I love the patience. Now, he collects 2 defensive players on the ball. 55 knows this. He doesn't even look to pass the thing until he's got 2 gold jerseys on him. And there's your classic pick and pop. Put 3 on the board, ring it up. And that's all because 55 drove the ball in an exacting manner down the heart of the defense and did not even think about or show any signs of stopping until he had 2 defensive players collected on him. Now, I like this. He just came into the game. So this is the first offensive possession. He had a defensive stand on the other end. This is number 2's, I think his last name's Hall, if I remember right. His first offensive possession, he comes out, and we used to call this a sub punch. He's a sub, and he comes out, and he waits for a perfect opportunity within the flow of the game to punch North Dakota right in the mouth, hypothetically speaking. But he comes off the bench and executes a perfect pickup jump shot. So if you're a player now in North Dakota State, you're down double-digit points, it looks like. I can't tell the red line, whatever. And you think, okay, they're subbing. I'm going to get to take a little bit of a break. Well, this guy just nullified every one of those thoughts by the Bison. He comes out and pops this, and that is a great sub punch. The reason I didn't clip that out, is the pace. The pace they get into their offense is fantastic. It is great. They get the ball either off the defensive rebound or out of bounds, whatever, and they get the thing and go. They get it and go. There's no walking the thing up the floor at a snail's pace. They get moving. Here's the first player down, what we call FPD. First player down, first player on the offensive end, and look, he already has established the letter X with his top foot. There's his ram arm, and he is making himself right now a viable option. Yeah, there we go. Great. Now, he looks middle, and he finds the open man. I don't know if he would have seen it that quickly if he looked baseline, but he finds the open man, and it leads to a nice drive and a fouling scenario. Another quick clip here of Cedric in here just busting heads. Look at that letter X with his top foot. And he's just outworking people. That's just flat out outworking people. He's going to reposition himself. I was going to say reposition. Before The recipient even catches the ball. I want to back this up for just 1 second and show you guys what I've been talking about. If you follow our channel and you follow our blocker mover stuff, the weak side screen in. Some people call it pin in. We call it stretching the floor horizontally. Here's your screen. We've got a ball side triangle formed. We've got full frontal of the post. The screener, his defensive player, is zoned up, but he's zoned up in such a way that his right eye is focused on the ball. He should drop this back foot so we can help or lend help on Cedric. But anyway, here's the screen in. And there it is. There's the throw over the top. Now, this puts the defense in a really awkward situation, especially if the person who catches it can shoot it or drive the thing effectively. And I want to back this up just one more second and show you the positioning Cedric gets on this weak side. Here's the screen in, and look at that. Right there, he's got him sealed. So that's good action. When the ball's on one side of the floor and you screen in, we call it circling away, and you screen in the weak side of the floor and make them pay for playing fundamentally sound man-to-man defense. You really put the defense in a pickle. There's another good clip of him working his tail off. Look at that, look at that, look at that. He is just a beast in there. And there's the lob pass. They let him a little too much, but that's not my point. I want everybody to see his footwork. If I was still coaching, I would have my team watching this right now with me. Okay. Look at that pace. I love the pace. Love it. I want to back that up because I want to show you the first man down it. FMD, first man down. And there he is. First man down. Look at him establishing position, fighting his tail off. That's a stud right there, guys. That's a warrior. That is a warrior. Another 5 out look. Okay, now for the motion guys here, blocker mover guys, I guess they're one and the same, just different names, I suppose. I really thought this was cool. Okay, so number 2 is cutting into his man. Here comes the screen. Now, I love how he reads. All right, my defensive player has his right arm, or his denial arm, past my ball side shoulder or left shoulder, which means in a split second, he's going to have his lead leg also in front of my lead or ball side foot. So he makes a perfect read. And he backdoors it right there. They missed him. And it's probably because this guy zoning up here does a great job at getting his hand near the ball line. So here comes round 2 of cutters. Boom. Now look at that. He was so hell-bent on getting out in that passing lane, and it's really not and I think 13 also read there's too much space in here. There comes your second back door. But he was so hell-bent on getting out in that passing lane, his whole body's physically compressed now. There's your second backdoor cut. Now, when you zone up like this, which I did when I coached man-to-man a long time ago, we taught zoning up here. But what you give when you zone up is you give up all reversal, which I cut that film or that clip a little too short. Apologies. Here we go. There's another great screen in on the weak side. He circles away. We circled up and away. These guys are circling from top in, which either you say tomato, I say tomato. But that is great. Great offense. That puts the defense in a terrible pickle. There's your ball side triangle. And I love how he is already establishing his 3 points of contact. So when the ball's caught here by 10, Cedric is already going to be in a situation to make a play. He's early. He is early. Everything he does, he's early. Now, this guy here must not be able to shoot it because he's packed in like he's a sardine in a can. But look at his footwork. Let's go back to this again. Have I mentioned that he likes the letter X top feet and make sure he's in perfect position. If not, there it is. He is a human dictionary on how to properly position your feet and your 3 points of contact in low post play. Great skip, stretch the floor horizontally. And I want to take this back because I didn't see these guys mealy mouth each other or show any negative body language, which I thought was fantastic. But here's one where I might mention to this guy here, yo, you get into the elbow, I have a letter X that would make my second grade teacher proud. You've got to elbow low post this to me, brother. You got to. I've got this guy riding me like a donkey. Switch him out to point guard. I love this. What I'd like to know is I would love to know if the coaching staff says, hey, Cedric, it's your time to take a break now, so handle the basketball for us. Because that's a hell of a lot less evasive than you going down there and beating the snot out of everybody. Okay, now this is great action here. Great action, great action, great action. We've got a ball side triangle formed, and guess what we get once the ball's being dribbled? Now, we can't elbow low post this because this cat's in the way on the ball screen. But we do get a weak side screen in for another horizontal stretch. Another great patience off the ball screen. He collects two defensive players, and that's when you know it's time to kick it. Now, this is something else that is a lost art with a lot of guys. Watch 55's shape up. In blocker mover lingo, shaping up from Coach Dick Bennett means you are shaping your man up, your chaser. We called the person guarding our cutters chasers. You're shaping him up so you can make yourself more open. Misdirection's another probably more feasible term, I don't know. But watch his shape up. That's old school. That's good stuff, guys. That is good stuff. Looks for the elbow low post. And you get the ball to another play, and a player who comes off the bench, and that's another sub punch, comes in and makes a straight line drive. No fading away. Nothing soft about that whatsoever. He just freaking gets it and makes a straight line drive to the basket. That's big time. More 5-out action with a high ball screen. And guess what? 55 follows suit and gets two Bison collected to the basketball. And there's your textbook pick and pop. Although that was a great closeout by the shooter's defensive player, it was still a good closeout. Look at this ball patience. Look at this ball patience. Now, he has drawn two, and in a second, almost three defensive players to him. And this, if this is not the most perfect pickup jump shot I have seen in a long time, I don't know of another one I've seen that's any better. No fade, maybe a slight fade, but the guy's not very tall. And now he's in amongst the Giants in the heart of the defense. The ball's kept up high. His shot pocket is high. He doesn't dip the ball down. I mean, how good is that? Okay, this I loved. So 55 says, you know what? I'm going to really ratchet things up here a little bit. Now, I love the stunt at the basketball. I love the stunt at the basketball. And I want you to watch his lead foot, how he throws his lead foot out past the ball handler's directional foot, meaning the direction he's going in, he gets his lead foot outside of it. So he has no choice but to stop the ball off his chest, which is just great basketball. Look at him throw that lead foot. Okay. I'm not a big fan of turning the back to the ball, but he could care. 55 could care less what I think. Anyway, the Magnuson. His name's Magnuson. Okay. All right. Now, 55's just kind of waiting here. That's another one, guys. Another one here that I love. He stunts to stop ball. He stunts at it. Stunts at it. Doesn't fully commit. Now, he is up in him, and it's on, man. I mean, it is on. It is on. He fights over the top of that ball screen. It is on. I mean, look at this. That, my friends, is a warrior. That's a warrior right there. He is a warrior. Okay, and now it continues. Now, look at this. Now, you want to talk about imposing, okay? You impose your will on somebody. Number 2 just had to endure that. And there was not a foul called on the other end. The bald kid from this guy here made a NBA range 3. But anyway, look, he's got his hands behind his back. He's like, okay, mister, this is the first 20 minutes of practice. And coach just said, sidelines, 1 versus 1, throw your lead foot drill. Look at it. That is great. I love it. That is a imposing your will. That's John Stockton-esque. That is good stuff. Here we go again, round 3. Skinny's through the screen. Now, he recognizes that he just got cooked off that screen. They have a pseudo switch here. The center on their team comes and stops ball, and this is nothing more than just headiness and anticipation and grit. Okay, this is what guys do who have played a lot of park basketball, where if you get beat, you can't just get back on the court and play. He covers down and he steals it and he tosses the thing ahead. I clipped it twice. Now, playing in multiples, you get a great defensive play like that. You've got to ring the bell on the other side. Great offense, horizontal skip, ping pong the ball. Playing in multiples. Let's take that great defensive play and now let's ring the bell. And they are ping ponging that thing. And they get the ball back to Mr. Magnuson, who has just put on a clinic on-ball defense, and I think it is fitting. It proves that the universe is still functioning properly. He hits that long 3. I love it. Another great ball. And that's another thing I haven't mentioned. These guys do a great job of setting on-ball screens and forcing a collision. There's bodies colliding, where a lot of the people now who utilize a lot of on-ball stuff, there's not much of a collision. Okay. Look at that. I mean, look at that. How good is that? This guy, I'm telling you, is a diamond in the rough. I don't know enough about Big Sky basketball to know if this guy is somebody who's talked about a lot. But this Cedric, I'm going to call him coward, because it's almost blasphemy to call him coward. But look at this. He draws in, oversteps, ball high. He brings the ball through the area between his nose and forehead, and he leads his teammate down there. That's just great. That is great low post basketball. Okay, halftime stats. 64% from the field over the top. 3-point. Both teams have shot very well from the 3-point line. But 45%, 50%, that's tough to beat, both teams. They've gotten to the line more. They've got 75%. This stat, I think, is a misprint, so I don't know what to say there. But it's I think that's a misprint. Turnovers equal. Points off. Rebounds 10-5. Rebounds 15-11. Points in the paint. This is a glaring stat. That's outstanding. Second chance points. The Bison actually have two more. But bench points here. We talked about that sub punch. 22-14. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. And I think a lot of that is allocated from being an inside first team. Great screen, great action. And that's it. I know I'm being redundant, but I will leave you with this. Watch their screening angles, watch how their players shape up. And the thing you can learn or show kids, if you wanted to use this video as a teaching tool, are the way the players for Eastern Washington utilize their feet and their 3 points of contact in the post. And look at how the Eastern Washington players look down, opposite, same every time they have the basketball. So I hope you get something out of this. I know it doesn't take much, obviously, to excite me, but Eastern Washington has acquired a new fan. Have a great rest of your week, folks. God bless.